that goes against linear thinking, does it not? You're going to find very few belief systems on the planet, very few indeed, that would give you that parameter. That all things are inclusive, proper, right. There is one truth, you say. There must only be one truth. Oh, really? So that means the truth of the other that gets them to the same place is wrong? Or there are a variety of truths that suit those human beings and those cultures who wish to do what they do to get to the same finish line as you. Wars have been fought, many lives lost over the one truth bias. So much singularity is there that you're even aware of none of it. It simply is your life. There are so many ones, there's so much singularity here. In this one life of yours, there really is not a concept of reality that you've lived before. Oh, you profess it, but you don't feel it. Part of my partner's teaching in these days has been for you to feel it, to get to a place where you will acknowledge the Akash and start understanding that you are eternal in both directions. That goes against the bias. You move only forward, not backward. My partner brought up this today, that almost all the religions on the planet believe in the afterlife and very few the forelife. Something that makes no sense whatsoever. It is the bias, is it not? And here you are looking at this. You've got to get around it. You have to begin to acknowledge that there is more than singularity, starting right with who you are. Right with who you are. In the last two channelings that I have given, I have even brought into focus how singular your science is, how proud you are of the scientific method, which is singular. It is the physics of Newton, the physics of Euclid, the physics of Einstein, a kind of physics that sets up universal laws that are static, empirical, and therefore they always work the same no matter what. And you proved them over and over, haven't you? And there is no doubt that these things work. And so why should I bring this up? And I'll tell you, because they only work in 3D. Nothing you have studied in the physics that you are so proud of works in a quantum state. Nothing. The quantum state has its own rules, and they are variable. And this is where it gets a bit confusing. Is there such a thing as physics that is not empirical? Yes. What about a physics that creates the universe all at once, in less than 1 second, greater than the speed of light, where everything occurs together, a dimensional shift so grand and so great it leaves a residue for you to measure, and you cannot get a grip on it. You call it the Big Bang, and you try to justify it in 3D, and you never will. Well, that is not how the creation occurred. And what we've said before is that the creation is still occurring. You have labeled it the expanding universe, something that seems to push the stars away from each other. What if it was still being created? You will not give any kind of credence to a physics that would be itself biased, because physics has to be empirical. Well, how do you explain empirical things like intelligent design? How do you explain physics against all odd that creates life all over the universe? It has to do it because it's biased. It's biased for life. How do you explain the Gaia effect? We have brought this to you before. This is an effect that as long as the earth has been here, it has tried to create life over and over. Sometimes it destroyed itself and reemerged to create life again. And there are those who say the actual creation of life is against all odds. Every time, against all odds. Every time, every time. We have said this to you. Wait until you find the life on the other places. Microbial life in this very solar system. It's everywhere. All you have to do is go out and find it. It's there. Created for life it is. This is against all odds and a kind of physics that is biased. It's biased against your bias. Do you see that? You look at it and you don't like it because it isn't 3D. You don't like a physics that does something with an agenda. We call it physics with an attitude. And you don't like that. It flies in the face of an empirical, three-dimensional straight line, you see? Wait till you discover it. It's all around you. It's quantum. So I'll give you the truth one more time so that you can think about it and analyze it. And I do this carefully and slowly and with great love. Repeating what I have told you before about what happens when you're born. Giving you an idea of who you are that expands who you are. You are not singular. Oh, precious one, listen to this scenario. Listen to it again. You need to hear this. Quantum at the core, you are. Only a piece and a part is activated. The 3D piece, and it creates a bias. When I say goodbye to you on the other side of the veil, I'm looking at a glorious piece of God. This is a tremendous piece of God. The whole idea that God is in pieces is 3D. But how can I say something to you that you cannot understand? How can I tell you that you are God, exist as God, and break off? Because the first thing you will say, well, how much breaks off? And that's a 3D question, do you see? It's a biased question that has no answer because there is no how much in a quantum state. You break off from what you call spirit and you come to earth, and you've done it over and over, and the process is amazing. What is amazing is that you would even do it. For you take the majesty of you and you put it into pieces. Do you remember Elijah? The beautiful soul, so wise. And his writings have given so much. Some of the core principles. And it was time for him to go. Do you remember this? Reported by Elisha. And Elisha said that when Elijah stepped into his Merkabah, that it was the light of the sun itself. Like matter meeting antimatter today, a light so grand, so great, you can't look at it. What Elijah had done is to step into ascension, real ascension, moving into his higher self where all the parts came together and a piece of God was seen for a moment on the planet. It is the story of every single one of you. Those who have near-death experiences see the light and they move toward the light. And now I'm going to give you information I've never said before. You need to know what the light is. Because in 3D you're moving forward, aren't you? And the light is God and you're coming close to God. That's not the way it is. The light is you. You come close to coming together again and you can hardly wait. Let me explain this. The point at which you're born, you break into pieces. Coming from my side of the veil as this splendorous piece that you are, of what we call creation, you break off. Half of you stays on my side of the veil. And it's called the higher self. But it's you.